Hello, this is my 47th day, first video, and I'm working on the grammar, traditional grammar. Test tomorrow. Tomorrow, of course I don't know if you'll take it or not, but tomorrow I'll run through the motions of giving you a test on the bare necessities. Look for the bare necessities. I really am sincere when I tell you that you need to know what those 8 parts of speech are. So tomorrow, you can pause in between them. I'll give the questions fast. I'll say, what are the 8 parts of speech? I expect you to be able to list them. Noun, verb, adjective, adverb, pronoun, conjunction, preposition, interjection. And I'll define it. I'll say, what am I defining? If I say this is a word that joins, well, you'd write down conjunction. And then I'll say, what is a preposition? And I'll expect you to write down a preposition is a word that begins prepositional phrase. All right, test tomorrow. And that's really for your own good. To keep you honest on this, as we go on, you really do need to know those 8 terms. All right, another thing, I've been looking at a good time to tell you. I don't know if this is a good time, but I'll tell you anyway. I challenge my students at a certain point to try to experiment with writing smaller than they usually do. That's a scary thing because so many of my students have beautiful penmanship, hand they'll call it in English. What a beautiful hand, meaning their handwriting, beautiful. But it takes time to write so beautifully. And so I issue the challenge, why don't you try writing smaller, just to see how it works. There was one girl, I think it was last year, that she took me up on the challenge. And her writing, it looked like it became that of a completely different person. Well, the advantage of writing small, I think, is you can go faster. And if you're going to go on to college or you're going to take notes, there is a real advantage to being able to write fast. So I'll issue the challenge. Try writing small. This would be a good spot to start the experiment. 9.1, the 9th section of your notes, morphology, first page, 9.1. I'm ready to start, sort of. But I'm going to start in a strange way, as I usually do. I have not done it this way before. Oh, and I wanted to tell you that one of the things that I like about what I'm doing right now is this is not just, oh yeah, I've done it 125 times before. I mean, I have taught something like this, but every single time I teach it is slightly different. I have no textbook. I'm not using a textbook. I'm not reading a script. I don't have a teleprompter. I'm just teaching it. And every time it's a little bit different. And this is different. I decided I would start morphology off right away with listing abbreviations that we are going to use in this section. We have a part of the notes that says abbreviations in this work. Well, I'll continue to use them. But in this section, there are going to be so many abbreviations that I use that they're worth pointing them out. For the sake of speed, for the sake of conciseness. And here's a list of some. If you're writing small, you see, you can fit this on in 2 columns. The 8 parts of speech. N equals noun, V equals verb, ADJ equals adjective. You could write these down, which I think you should do. There's something else I haven't bothered to say. But I think in having your hand go through the motion of writing it down, that actually helps you to learn it, as opposed to just sort of sitting back and listening, oh, that's nice. I mean, that's you become active in writing. Sometimes I'll have some students that they refuse to take notes, they don't want to take notes, and I graded them accordingly because that was part of the job. I never really believed in homework. Well, at least I didn't eventually, and for most of my teaching career I didn't believe in homework. But I wanted their time. When they were my students, I wanted that time. And part of that time I was requiring that they write these notes down. Well, in any case, I hope you're doing so. Anyway, there are 8 abbreviations. I use IJ instead of INT because that could confuse with interrogative. CJ instead of CON because there's all kinds of CONs. Anyway, I'll use them often. TF, that's going to be the abbreviation for test for, which I've used. What is the test for a verb? Atasoflentka. All right, now here comes something that I've thought about how I was going to go about telling you this. Fran, I know her still. She She's a grown woman. She teaches in Philadelphia. She was my student back in the 80s. Delightful girl. Anyway, she always comes to mind because at the time that when I talk about this, because at the time that I taught this, it was fun. It was a new thing. And I remember how she would laugh. So she became an English teacher. She's teaching 8th grade English in Philadelphia. But anyway, Atasoflentka, what a stupid word. It's an acronym. I don't like acronyms like FBI, CIA. I don't like them. But anyway, I used it. And it stands for all the average student of foreign language ever needs to know about something or other. And how I came up with this, at the time back in the 80s when I was teaching Fran, it was Atasoflentka. I didn't add foreign. All the average student ever needs to know about. I added this because really I realized that I was teaching more than the average student ever needed to know about grammar. But if you're going to be an average student of foreign language, I propose that I'm going to be teaching you all the grammar you will ever need to know if you're an average student. Now maybe if you're an unbelievable student who goes on to become a linguist, maybe that's another matter. But anyway, why I get into that is because grammar is a finite subject, unlike, say, literature or the humanities, which you could spend the rest of your life going on and studying. There is only so much grammar where you can say, okay, I've studied grammar. It's neat that way. And I like to point it out because teachers hammer and hammer and hammer away at this sometimes bent nail of trying to teach grammar. And I try to tell the kids that if you know nothing about grammar, in the next 2 months, I'm going to teach you the whole works. This is all you'll ever need to know. If you learn this, you would never need to study grammar again. It doesn't have to be taught in 9th grade, and 10th grade, and 11th grade. It's a finite subject, and I'm going to teach all the average student of foreign language ever needs to know about grammar and syntax in the next 2 months. Well, GMR is the abbreviation I use for grammar, and by that I mean traditional grammar. I don't exactly mean what linguistics mean. Oh, notice I underscored ever needs to know. I'm really trying to drive that home. If you never knew anything more about grammar than what I'm about to teach you, you would know enough. And I underline that, although I get lazy. As a matter of fact, ultimately, I created the abbreviation ATA, which was an abbreviation for an abbreviation, if you will, for an acronym. ATA stands for all the average person ever needs to know about whatever. First it's going to be grammar, and then it's going to be syntax. All right, Fran, I talked about you. I told you I was going to, and there's more to say about Fran. But she was there when this happened, at the birth of this idea of Atasoflentka and Atasoflentka. Okay, I'm going to now turn to the chronological survey.